Okay, welcome to 4.5 where we're going to do with multiplication of polynomials and everything that it encompasses. So to multiply polynomials, you find an equivalent expression for the product of two monomials, multiply the coefficients, and then multiply the variables using the product rule for exponent. It's not as hard as it sounds, you've done it. So simply we're just going to multiply the coefficients and then we're going to follow the rules for the variables. So 6 times 7 is 42, and then x times x is simply x squared. 5 times a negative 1 is negative 5, and then you have a times a, which is a squared. And then on C, you have negative 8 times 3, which is negative 24. And you have x raised to the 6th times x raised to the 4th. That is really just simply x to the 10th. Again, multiply x and x plus 7. So this is saying x times x plus 7. So you're going to do distributive property. So x times x is x squared. And then you got to distribute that x. I call it doing Mario Man. You got to touch each one, and that becomes 7x. And that is our final answer. Alright, you have to multiply all the way through, and they have to touch each one. So 6x times x squared becomes 6x to the third. 6x times negative 4x becomes negative 24x squared, and then 6x times 5 is positive 30x. Multiplying a monomial and a polynomial. To multiply a monomial and a polynomial, you multiply each term of the polynomial by the monomial, which is what we just did. We're going to do this again, and we're going to go all the way through. So 5x squared times x to the third is simply 5x to the fifth. 5x squared minus times negative 20. I'm about to give you the answer. 5x squared times negative 4x squared is going to give us negative 20x to the fourth. 5x squared times 3x is going to give us 15x cubed. And then last but not least, 5x squared times a negative 5 is going to give us a negative 25x raised to the second power. Okay, on these, we're going to multiply these two items together. And so that's like, since they both have an x in there, you can do it a couple of different ways. The way I do it is I'm just going to show you FOIL, and we're going to get to it a little bit later, but it's first, outer, inner, last. So first gives us x squared, outer gives us 5x, inner gives us 3x, and last gives us 15. Then we're going to gather like terms, and then we are finished. Okay? That's the way I do this one. Same way here. First, so 3x times 3 gives me a 3x squared. Outer, so 3x times a negative 1 gives us a negative 3x. Then inner again gives us a negative 2x. And then last but not least, you get negative 2 times negative 1, which gives us a positive 2. We gather like terms, we get 3x. Sorry, it's a minus. Minus 5. X plus 2, and that's our final answer. So the product of two polynomials is simply the way that you multiply them, and we're going to talk about it. You multiply p and q, and it says select one of the polynomials, and then it lets you to multiply each term. The easiest way to do this is simply by FOIL, but we're going to talk about how to do it when it's more than two polynomials. On this one, I'm going to start with this one, and it's going to multiply each one of these first. So 5x cubed times x squared is going to give me 5x to the 5th. And then 5x cubed times 3x is going to give me 15x to the 4th. And then I'm going to take this term and I'm going to multiply it here and here. So x squared times x squared is going to give me x to the 4th. And then x squared times 3x is going to give me 3x to the 3rd. And then last but not least, I'm going to multiply this 4x. So 4x plus x squared, or times x squared, is x to the 3rd. And then 4x times 3x is going to be 12x squared. So I'm going to go through and gather like terms. So when I do, I get 5x to the 5th. These two will go together, so it gives me 16x to the 4th. Oh, this worked out great. They were in the same order. So then I get 7x to the 3rd, and last but not least, I get 12x squared. And that's your final answer. Alright, we're going to try this again. So I'm going to multiply here first through all of these. So negative 3x squared times 2x squared gives me a negative 6x to the 4th. Negative 3x squared times a negative 3x gives me a positive 9x to the 3rd. And then negative 3x squared times 1 is simply just negative 3x squared. Now, if you go through and do the second one, you can line them up, and that helps a little bit too. So negative 4 times 2x squared gives me a negative 8x squared. So I can line that up under the x squared. So it's like doing a vertical way of adding things together. So negative 4x, or negative 4 times a negative 3x gives me a negative 12x. Negative 4 times 1 gives me a gives me a negative 4. Finish writing my 4. And then once we get all that together, we can gather like terms and put it all together and see what we get. So I get negative 6x to the 4th plus 9x to the 3rd minus 11x squared. Let's see, negative times a negative, that was a positive 12. It'd be positive 12x, and then minus 4. And that is your final answer. Hope you're keeping up, and good luck.